This is one of my favorite segments we do on this show. It's November, so it's time to announce my Word Power Book Club Pick of the Month. It's called The Law of Innocence by one of my favorite authors in the world, Michael Connelly. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Before we get into the book, I just want to ask you how you and your family are doing during COVID.
We're doing good. I'm one of these people that can't really complain. As you know, as writers, we like to be by ourselves writing at home. So I've kind of been on lockdown for about 25 years, so I can't really complain.
So you tend to write your books in the year to keep them contemporary. That's happening. So, for example, you're in the midst of writing The Law of Innocence, and COVID-19 happens. How did that affect your creative process?
I was writing this book, The Law of Innocence. It was set in April of this year in Los Angeles, and then COVID came, and the courtrooms were closed. Like everything, we were on lockdown. So I was in the midst of writing a book that wasn't realistic, and I had to rethink and retool what I was doing. It sounds like an easy fix, but basically I shifted the book earlier, a few months earlier, so it's taking place on the cusp of the pandemic when we're just starting to hear about it, and there's some warnings, and there's some lack of warnings, and there's, some basically confusion, which in a crime novel is always good. And so I was able to kind of reflect what was going on in our world in January and February in the book.
So give us a quick synopsis of what this book is about.
Well, there's that adage, it's attributed to Abraham Lincoln, that a attorney who takes himself on as a client has a fool for a client. In other words, lawyers should not defend themselves. But I put Mickey Haller in this position where he's charged with a crime, and he has a big difficulty in front of him because he's been thrown in the slammer, and the bail is so high he can't afford it. So he's kind of strategizing and building his defense from a jail cell. I thought, as a challenge to me as a writer, I've written 34 books before this. Let's do something where the main character is primarily sedentary, stuck in a jail, and he has to figure out how to get out of, what is the biggest jam of his life.
Wow. Well, the inimitable Michael Connelly, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all your great work, man. Thank you for allowing us to choose The Law of Innocence as our pick of the month for November for our Word Power Book Club. Thanks, man.
I really appreciate it.
Hope to see you again soon, man. Take care. Please head over to our website, thedoctorstv.com, to learn more about Michael Connelly's new book, The Law of Innocence. It's right there for you to join our club and to read it. And guess what? We're going to give away 25 copies, so make sure you go right away.